Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, Tel TV Plus Channel 15, respective radio stations island-wide, and online viewers. I'm Rolika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, November 29th, 2023. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport, Dr. Anders Rudolph Samuel, to address you. Minister Samuel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach, and good morning to you and to the members of the media and CoM. Good morning, Prime Minister, and good morning to the people of St. Martin. This morning, I would like to remind the general public of St. Martin that in collaboration with the St. Martin Christian Council, the St. Martin United Ministerial Foundation, and the Seventh-day Adventist Church, you are invited to what we have every year, our annual Thanksgiving service. And that is this Sunday, December 3rd. And the location is here at the administration building. And we would start at 4:30 with songs and praise. And then we will go over to the service. We do need to come out and say thank you to our Almighty for sparing us. We have had some very near misses, and we know that we definitely do not want to have a storm and also other calamities in St. Martin at this moment. So it is good to give thanks. So I'm inviting everyone to come out on Sunday so that we can together give thanks for the saving of St. Martin. I would also like to take this time and opportunity to say thank you for your cooperation to the teachers, the parents, the students, the staff, and also the general public with the decision that was made to put some of the students home at the Orania School so that the repairs can happen more faster. We did have a deadline, and our deadline was December 31st. So out of that deadline, we had to make some decisions. So we left the cycle 1 at home, and those students that are in the exam classes and in the pre-exam classes, we let them come to school, and the others we will be online. So I know it's an inconvenience, but I thank you for your cooperation in this situation. I would like to congratulate at this moment the students of the Charlotte Brookson Academy. Last night they had their graduation, and it was really, really a wonderful evening to be there to congratulate the students of the Charlotte Brookson Academy. I would like to wish them all the very best in their future endeavors. And we all know that for those students that wants to study arts, that it is on the list of study priorities so they can apply for a scholarship. In this afternoon, I will be having a meeting with the CCSU. And one of the topics that I will be discussing this afternoon, it has to do with something that I mentioned many times before in the press. It has to do with the function books and the salaries of the teachers. And the unions have put forward a proposal. I also have a proposal that is similar to the teachers unions proposal. I think that is a good thing. So this afternoon we will be discussing increase for teachers and across the board in St. Martin. And I think it would be a very positive thing, because if both of us have a proposal that is very similar, we know that the final decision would not be today, because we would have to work out all the fine tuning of it. But it is a positive for the teachers across St. Martin. I thank you, and I will await any questions.
Thank you, Minister Samuel, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Silveira Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Rolika. Good morning to you. Good morning to my colleague minister, the members of the press here, as well as those following, the listening and viewing public, whether both here on St. Martin or abroad. Of course, a thank you, good morning, and thank you to the Department of Communications for facilitating this broadcast. As always, your hard work is appreciated. And for those of you who may have enjoyed, for instance, being able to see and enjoy all of the different things going on St. Martin via government's website and Facebook page, it is thanks to the hard work with them going overtime most of the time to be able to bring you our national festivities and other interesting events. Thank you. It is heartwarming to see all of us getting ready and jumping into the necessary preparations as we find ourselves at the start of the holiday season, a time of joy, reflection, and gratitude. And I pray that we as a country will prioritize individually, as groups and families, spending time with our family, loved ones, and friends, as that is what the true season is about. As the Minister of ECYS just mentioned, we are now at the official end of our hurricane season. This will be on Thursday, November 30th, and this marks the official end of the 2023 hurricane season. As we approach Sunday, December 3rd, which marks our National Day of Thanks, it is a day when we collectively come together to express gratitude to the Almighty for sparing us from the many challenges of the hurricane season. But regardless of whether we had been devastated or not, we always celebrate life, and we give thanks for life, for sparing whichever lives may have been spared. And for this year, we are extra thankful, of course, because as Minister mentioned, there were quite a few near misses. We did have some torrential rains, which wreaked havoc, didn't reach the disaster level, but of course, we're faced with the challenges to make all the necessary repairs as it regards to that. But we could have had it much, much worse. And for that, we are grateful. We're also very thankful to the emergency response teams across the island and the community workers who continue to prepare not just for hurricanes, but for all disasters, and are committed to have the preparations in place to be able to mitigate the devastation as much as possible. Something I remember hearing from someone who had taken part in looting back in 2017, saying it is something they will never do again because they see the result of it on the island. There was the storm, but the devastation of the human actions also brought much more difficulties economically to the people of St. Martin, with businesses having to close. So thank you for your diligence. Thank you for your understanding that together as a community, we have to take care of each other. This Thanksgiving, the gratitude that we express is to ensure that we do not take things for granted. It is always good to give thanks. So I invite the general public here to the Government Administration Building, where in front, as Minister mentioned, the ecumenical service will take place, starting with praise and worship at 4:30. So I look forward to seeing you all there, after which, of course, we kick off the start officially of our Christmas season. I would like to congratulate also the Phillipsburg community and the Ministry of Teyat, so the government of St. Martin, in ensuring that last week and that the boardwalk and various areas within the Phillipsburg area were lit for Christmas season. I'm encouraging different communities to come together to bring that level of Christmas cheer to your community. I would also add my congratulations to the graduates, the 9 graduates of the Charlotte Brookson Academy who persevered through many, many challenges and have achieved their CXC results with positive results as well. The future holds great promise for them with the accomplishments they have made, and they are one of the schools that I really look at with a sense of pride, as they were an alternative for many students who have a hard time. And so these students have come through it, and with the hard work of teachers, staff, of the management and the board, they have been able to be, and of course their parents and their own hard work, they have been able to receive success. It was a night filled with art, with creative art, music, dance, and the exceptional talent that we have on St. Martin. So congratulations to you. I was also able during the day yesterday to meet with They're collaborators at Bowie State University. The Charlotte Brookson Academy for the Performing Arts has made a great partnership with BSU, and they came down en masse to support the graduation ceremony, as well as to get more in touch with the students, some of which will be transitioning to Bowie State. This is a great collaboration, and as Minister of General Affairs, I will doing all I can also from a foreign relations and in contact with the State Department to ensure that this collaboration does not end, and that more and more of our students will be able to make use of this opportunity. Men's Mental Health Foundation also had a very successful gala evening on Sunday where they commemorated Men's Day, and of course with the focus on men's mental health. Several of the government officials and their staff were able to support this event, giving thanks as well. Together we can deal with the challenges we face. We can either complain about it or we can decide what are we going to do. And I think true St. Martin spirit is get up and find solutions. And that is what I see with these organizations. We also received official recognition from the International Advisory Committee of the Memory of the World program, that St. Martin's submission for our slave registry, which was done by our esteemed, dearly departed colleague within the Department of Records, Mr. Alfonso Blyden. His hard work has paid off, and now St. Martin is receiving that recognition as a Memory of the World document. So this we will be commemorating. It is a period of 1816 to 1969, which he has submitted. And as such, a plaque will be donated, which will be unveiled at a special ceremony to be announced. We're very, very proud of this because we continue to speak about what we don't have, but there have been people over the years doing diligent work silently. And we have seen a lot of his productions on Facebook before he passed, but diligently it has been also submitted to UNESCO and is now part of the Memory of the World. And we will be highlighting that as soon as we receive the necessary documentation. A certificate was sent, and of course a ceremony will be planned with his department and with his family members to commemorate this. The Civil Registry Department wishes to continue to update that, yes, we are still in phase 2, where persons can pick up their voting cards. Phase 3 will start next week on December 4th, where the deliveries will be made. So I can imagine that people are still asking whether this is the only way for them to get their cards. No, once we have finished with the distribution here at the building, then we will start with the deliveries via the postal services. For this week, tomorrow, the 30th, from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m., the voters from Phillipsburg area, District 9 Butte Hotel, District 10 NEPA can collect on Friday, and also those from previous districts who did not get to pick up before December 1st, also from 3:30 to 6:30, Charles Bell School, District 11, and the Leonard Connor School, District 12, so those in the Colby, KB, Simpson Bay, District 13 area, and the Seventh-day Adventist School. So Colby, KB, Simpson Bay voters, you can come on Friday. And those who missed the opportunity, you still have that opportunity in these 2 days as well to come in. The Civil Registry Department is doing its utmost. Thereafter, on December 4th, the distribution via the postal services will commence. Another exciting announcement I have is that with the collaboration of the Minister Plenipotentiary René Violinus and his cabinet in the Netherlands, we have been in touch with us as a Council of Ministers, as well as the Chamber of Commerce, to be able to have an info session on Thursday, November 30th, right here at the government building in room 1 and 2 on the Nationale Carrièrebeurs, which is a national search for employees. So we keep asking, how do we get our St. Martiners who are studying abroad to come home? This will be hosted in the Netherlands in March on the 22nd and 23rd, but they're going to be here tomorrow. The persons who are organizing that are working in the Caribbean session. Tomorrow, those of you who are looking for workers, come in, bring that information. I find the registration to be quite low, but we are saying we're looking for people to come home. So those businesses and those entities, you have that opportunity tomorrow. Some of the attendees are already the Port of St. Martin, the Council of Advice, General Pension Fund, the Prosecutor's Office, and we hope that we will see the amount of people that we expect so that we can get our St. Martiners back home to fill these very important jobs. As Minister also mentioned, and I think that will be the last announcement for now, not just him, but also the Minister of Finance, myself, hopefully also the Minister of Justice will be meeting with the CCSU. We have been in negotiations, as I mentioned before, on our bezoldigingsregeling ambtenaren, so the way we remunerate our civil servants. We have been diligently, I think, on one page for the most part, but of course, in these discussions, even though the covenant was signed by both entities, we still have the final discussion, and hopefully this will be resolved today so we can move forward to be able to execute the necessary promises to our civil servants in the year 2024. So we look forward to being able to bring some positive news from that CCSU meeting today, this afternoon. With that being said, thank you for the opportunity to make these opening remarks, and I am open for questions.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. I would like to re-invite Minister Samuel to provide an additional point to his opening remarks. Minister Samuel.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. I would like to inform the general public of St. Martin that finally the lights at the John Cooper Coastal Lake Ballpark are being installed. This has been a great wish for myself and also for the supporters of St. Martin. We have had our challenges in getting this project moving and off the ground, and I'm pleased to let the public know. You can pass by and see that the installation is in full swing, and within short, we will have lights on the ballpark. And that means that we will then be able to use the Coastal Lake Ballpark also in the evening hours, which is very good for those of us who are busy with the sports. I would also like to inform that the installation of exercise equipment began this past weekend, at the playground by the Sister Regina School in Simpson Bay. So some of the same equipment that we installed in Belvedere and also on the boardwalk, we have been able to install at the playground at Simpson Bay, in the Simpson Bay area. We were looking for an area over the hill, and I am grateful to those who have been able to give us permission to be able to install the equipment there. So now we have 3 exercise places, one in Belvedere, one on the boardwalk, and one over the hill by the Sister Regina School. And I thank all the persons who in one way or the other have contributed to making this possible. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister Samuel. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, November 29th, 2023. We now move on to the question and answer session. And Bibi Hart Shah of SMN News, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning. Good morning, ministers. Good morning, colleague. My first question is to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, now that the actual bidding for the repairs of the festival village has completed, when would the actual work begin? And what about the 4th floor on the roof of this building and the mold that is existing here? When will this be looked at?
Thank you for that question. I didn't get the final report on the bidding as yet. I know that it was finalized, but I don't know the results. And so once I get those, I'll be able to update you regarding the festival village. As it regards the 4th floor, the owners of the building, SZV, decided that they would have a reassessment done. So the roof will not be removed, as was initially announced. They did do some correction work, which did cease the leaks in the that wing, the wing on the left side, if I'm facing this way. So the repairs that they did yield proper results. So they are just looking at repairs. So they have looked at their contractors to reassess the situation. Once we know the way that they will be moving, I will make those announcements as well, because it was actually quite disruptive for us to think on the entire roof being removed. with all of the work that goes on the fourth floor. Not only the Council of Ministers would be affected in this wing, but also several of the departments within the Ministry of General Affairs. As it relates to mold, the assessments that had been done yielded that it was not alarming. The treatments that were done, and they had to be redone and assessments to determine whether everything was finalized. But the last results, we had also the Inspectorate of Health that assessed those results, and the main thing that came out of it, that it was not harmful. So what had been found was eradicated, but what had been found was deemed to not be in an excessive amount to that extent. But seeing the fact that we did have the leaking roof, it was mentioned that if it is not rectified, that it can reoccur. However, we are taking mitigating measures, and we are still awaiting the final report because they had to do a retest. But during that time, it was raining very heavily, so the retest was not done at that time. So really, we're looking forward to having follow-up meetings with the owners, SZV, the managers here within the building. We are currently undergoing the revamping of our air conditioning system. So the ducts were all cleaned out, but some were also being changed out. I think that was on the second floor, and they will be going floor by floor to do the removal and reconfiguration. Because originally when the building was built, it was built to be more of an open floor concept. And because several departments found it difficult to work that way, inner walls were put in, which changed the dynamics of the airflow. So with the current floor plan having been assessed, the air condition system is being rerouted to ensure better airflow, and we will continue to monitor on a regular basis to ensure that the mold does not reoccur.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Thank you, Bibi. I would now like to invite Stephen Cerillion of PJ82 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Rich. Good morning to you, Minister. Prime Minister, good morning to you. My question is for the Prime Minister as Minister of General Affairs. Prime Minister, the road to elections have now been paved. January 11th is quickly approaching. Can you tell us as to whether or not you have made any request for election observers? If not, why not?
No, for sure. Definitely since the 22nd of November, postulation day, the process has started. All parties have submitted their list. The ones that needed to be endorsed were endorsed the following day. And so the official, documentation to submit have been reviewed. All of us have now received the feedback of the main Central Voting Bureau to make the necessary corrections. Clearly, we're being very much stickler for exactly the way things are written on the registration. It has to be in the forms and some other corrections that need to be made. So we're busy as parties. The different parties have also had a meeting yesterday to be updated, and those have to be submitted by the first Friday the 1st of December. So there should be no issue in us making the necessary corrections to ensure that that is done, so that then the civil registry can proceed with getting the ballots ordered, printed, etc. As you know, the cards are being distributed next week as well after our phase 2 ends. And I missed one of your questions.
Is it your intention to bring
observers.
in election observers?
Yes, we had that discussion when we had the discussion between the main voting bureau, the Ministry of General Affairs. We have had the discussions. They have sent out the requests, and we are awaiting responses. So thus far, we haven't had any responses. So it is the intention.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Stephen. We now move on to the second round. Bibi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relaika. Prime Minister, you mentioned a meeting with CCSU this evening. Do you believe civil servants would actually get the promised COLA for the Christmas holiday, or they will have to go over? Yeah, I mean, 10 years, Prime Minister, they've been waiting quite a while. And they're all anxious to see if at least they will get something for the holidays. Do you think there is a possibility, knowing that there is an amendment to the 2023 budget in Parliament?
Yes, so the cost of living adjustment is part of the discussion that we are having with the unions. We have been having these discussions, of course, every time we have a meeting. The reality is that from 2012 come up, when no adjustments were made, St. Martin has been in a very negative or difficult financial situation. As such, the legal obligation, as much as you may want to, you didn't have the funding to be able to do that. What we have agreed to thus far, what has been signed in the covenant, is a 2%. I think our Minister of Finance has mentioned this, and that is not for Christmas, that is for 2024. Of course, it would require that these discussions are finalized, and this is government's priority. We've been in discussions to improve on the regulations without necessarily involving the union internally, with the cabinet of the governor, with legal affairs, with the P&O department, because we feel that there was an interpretation issue with our articles that negatively impact the civil service. I have been valiantly fighting for that, and at the end of the day, it was said, just change the law. It's a law. So they were already in discussions to change the law. Several articles had already been agreed upon. So the main discussion was on Article 3 and 8. We have a very good agreement on what it should be now. There are 5 points, I believe, which were negotiated and covenant was signed. They had to take it back to their Achterban, and we took it back to the Council of Ministers. Council of Ministers is ready to go. But the unions still have 1 or 2 questions, and we will see what the meeting today yields. With the agreement, they will see benefits in 2024 already, with promises for 2025 and beyond. But of course, we would not be able to go all the way back to 2012. And that is something that certain people don't understand. The finances to do that just is not there. We have budgeted for 2% this year. We've made agreements for 3 years. And we can have a discussion this afternoon, and I don't want to go into that here before having that discussion with them. What I'm talking about is what we've already agreed upon. So it is commitments for what was in the past is what is still being discussed. At least we know for the future where we're going, what we want to do, and we are also assessing the scales. This falls directly by me, and that assessment of the scales is going hand in hand with the medewerkerstevredenheidsonderzoek, the employees satisfaction survey that we did, which corroborated what I've been saying since I came in 2019 and asked for the scales to be adjusted. Sometimes things don't go as quickly as we would like, but I'm happy that we're finally there and we have the tangible data and results to be able to address the challenges. We now have the results from the census as well that gives a better indication of what it costs to live on St. Martin. So with that information, you can now make the structural decisions. Yes, you will get that increase, but you will not see a jump more than the 2% for 2024, not for Christmas. We have promised 2% with the budget going to Parliament. That is what we need to be approved. The 2024 budget also has the 2% in there. So 23 will deal with the justice workers and what they have gone through, the amendment. So we are relying on Parliament to handle that as soon as possible. And 2024 budget, which is also on the way to Parliament, is dealing with that cost of living adjustment. Also something for the vacation pay for this year, for 2024, with subsequent 2025 as well. So things are improving, and if we continue to generate the type of funds we can on the island, then we can make even further promises to improve the work and the remuneration of our civil servants. Besides that, though, we're also working on different programs and projects to just improve the atmosphere. I have a committee in place, and hopefully by the end of the week or next week, we'll be able to have the discussion with the civil servants first as to some of the things that they can expect moving forward. Yes.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Thank you, Bibi. Stephen, you have the floor.
Thank you. Prime Minister, I'm sure you're in a better position to say as to the number of eligible voters. Can you provide some information on that? And what's a breakdown between men voters versus women voters?
Wow, Stephen, I don't have it off the top of my head. I know there's 22,000. It's on our government website. Either 553, no, that's not the number. Take that back. I will have to send that out in writing. I know we've put out our graphics with the numbers. I was looking quickly for it, but I don't have that off the top of my head, unfortunately. The male and female breakdown was also given in the graphic. And whenever we get further breakdowns from the civil registry, we've also done it per district, how many voters per district, as well as the males and females per district. And all of that we can find on our government website and on our government Facebook pages. It was 22,553, so that wasn't bad. 22,553 eligible voters. Yeah?
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Stephen. We now move on to the third round. Bibi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Prime Minister, electoral reform. There was much talk about this topic in Parliament and every part of the street. When you talk to people, one of the main things they talk about the electoral process on St. Martin. There was one town hall meeting held right here. After that, we heard nothing more about electoral reform. We are in the campaign season, soon to be election. Where are we on this process?
And the impending season is what actually minimized us being able to do more at this time. Of course, I'd planned for multiple town hall sessions, which we will commence again. There was a previous electoral reform committee in place, so I think it would be better that we ensure that we get that committee back up and running and not necessarily rely on a minister or a cabinet to organize these types of functions. The electoral reform that we are looking to have implemented is the removal of the curtains. We weren't able to get any of the other proposals done in time for this election, so anything that is said and done right now is for another election and not the one that is upcoming. So we decided to park the discussions while we're in the electoral season, while people are geared up and working towards getting re-elected. And then I think it would then be up to the population to see what different parties put forward in terms of how they would see fit to address some of the electoral challenges. But what has come out of the sessions that we did have, which I think was very key, is that it is about people. We can legislate only so much. As a matter of fact, we don't want to legislate ourselves into a corner. So we're looking at the ways to make it more efficient, more effective. Something that came out of the survey we did, because we'd also done a survey, was that some people would want to even see elections happening at two levels, for parliament and government, and not have the elected parliament determine who would be sitting as government. This is not something we can address right now. Our sessions will continue, of course, in 2024, and there we will be able to then project better. We've heard talks about referendums as well. So all of this will then be part of a new governing 2024-2028 program, which will then come out of whomever wins the coming elections. As you know, we are in a state now where we have also been advised not to start with anything new. You have ongoing things, you're working those out, of course, collaborating as much as possible with our colleagues within the kingdom and ensuring within the region and French St. Martin that we are doing what we can. This is all part of our trajectory 2020-2024, so we can continue with those things. But the goals that we had for electoral reform, unfortunately, are not going to be realized in time for this election, and hopefully we will have the same enthusiasm for discussions in 2024, early enough to make a difference for the election after that. Let me don't say next. But indeed, I want to encourage, since you've asked that question, Bibi, encourage the people of St. Martin, and also the question previously from Mr. Cyrillian, that it is a right that many have fought for. Sometimes when I listen to some of the rhetoric on some of the radios these days, it's as if you would seek any reason to say, well, me ain't going to vote. I got to go pick up my card. I ain't going to vote. Well, it is something that has been done in previous elections that you could come to the building to pick up. We just made it a longer time so that more persons had the opportunity to come. We set specific dates per district, and it's not a long line. People are actually surprised at how quickly they get through to pick up those cards. So I'm going to encourage you for the next 2 days to come out, pick up your cards as you wish, and if you don't, also not a problem. As of December 4th, your cards will be distributed. If you do not receive those cards, then you will still have to check back with Civil Registry as to what the situation is. We were really encouraging people who may have changed address, people who may have not received their voting cards for whatever reason last election. Those are the persons who I would encourage to come to the building so that if there's an issue, it can be rectified. Yes, we are encouraging a high as possible voter turnout. We do not want anyone's voice to go unheard. And not because I'm sitting in government am I trying to do anything to block anyone. I take part, just like any other party leader, in the sessions with the main voting bureau, even though I might have more information, myself and my president, the president of my party. So I really would like to tell people that St. Martin's election are always free, fair, and open, transparent. We invite observers to come, and that all should make use of the opportunity to have your voice be heard and subsequently hold us accountable via whether it's letters to the editor, whether it's writing to Parliament or the town hall meetings that I, as part of my program, will ensure takes place on a regular basis, that the community gets the opportunity to voice their concerns.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Stephen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Roach. My question is for the Minister of ACYS. Minister, you spoke of the work ongoing at the Orania School. Can you give us an idea as to the nature of the work? You also said that there is a deadline of December 31st for the work to be completed. What provision is put in place to ensure that this deadline is met? If not, what happens?
Thank you, Stephen. What we have encountered after getting permission to go ahead with the roof works is that the contractor requested 30 days to get the work done. And also in the contract, it stated that the prices will increase after the 31st of December. In that way, a decision had to be made in order to give the contractor more time to work than only in the afternoon. And for that reason, a decision was to let the cycle 1, which are the lower grades, go online, stay home and go online, and that the contractor will then be able to work in the morning during school hours. And the contractor found that this was possible. It is an inconvenience, yes, it depends on how you look at it. It is an inconvenience, but the contractor have assured me that he will be able to get the job done. And the work is ongoing since Saturday, Sunday. What is also good to announce is that one of the things that had to be done at the Orania School was the installation of air codes. Now, the installation of the air codes started last weekend, and on Sunday past, GB was able to install the new fuse, the new upgrade, and now the school has enough power to be able to install the rest of the air conditions. And I believe as we speak at this moment, the other air conditions are being installed. What I will make sure is, because there was also talk about mold at the school, is that prior to going back in the classes, I will make sure that everything is clean and proper so that we wouldn't have no complaints about going back in the class. The only thing that I would wish to get done before the students come back in January would be to paint the school, but I think that's a little challenge, and maybe this can then be prepared to be done in the big vacation upcoming. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister Samuel. We now move on to the fourth round. Bibi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relaika. Prime Minister, can you tell me if all government-owned companies are living up to their obligations with their annual payment of dividends?
I believe the Minister of Finance and his ministry is finalizing the dividend policy. As such, there's not a dividend policy, there's a concessions that had to be paid. I know during the COVID period, several had requested to not pay the concessions because of the finances. I believe all are back on par where the concessions are concerned. So the concessions are what the government-owned companies are currently paying on a regular basis, which is budgeted for. So our budgets are based on that, and with our balanced budget of this year, 2023, 2024, I believe the full concessions for all government-owned companies have been included in that. So that is not an issue at this point. Yeah. I did have an announcement, but I couldn't find all the details right away regarding, I do have a visit being organized with our UN representative in New York. The Kingdom representative, Ms. Yoka Brandt, will be visiting St. Martin. She will be visiting, and we are hosting a panel discussion at USM on Monday. The information about that will be disseminated, but whenever I go to the United Nations, which I did the last 2 Septembers, 2022 and 2023, to forward the agenda of St. Martin foreign policy, being able to meet with other island nations there, which is cheaper than visiting 10 different islands in the Caribbean and all of the costs associated with that. So that one big trip allows us to, as a Caribbean nation, meet with our colleagues, also put forward the challenges we face as small island developing states. And so those who are interested in that discussion and how we can further it, I hear many political parties talking about it as if they actually know what it takes to be able to do some of the work that is being done behind the scenes in preparation for these discussions, or that they have any clue as to what takes place when we are in New York for those sessions. So Ms. Yoka Brandt, our permanent representative in New York for the Kingdom of the Netherlands, will be here on St. Martin discussing some of those aspects. So we've had strong discussions on not only looking at, for instance, GDP to measure, especially for middle-income countries like us, our vulnerability, but to look at the multidimensional vulnerability index. This is something that I think anybody who's thinking about running in the next election should research, look at, because we as small island developing states within a Dutch kingdom are very much, don't have the same access to funding like other countries within the Caribbean. So we are really looking forward to that discussion on Monday, the panel discussion, and further information will be shared via our social media pages and in a press release. Thank you for this opportunity, and a blessed rest of the week to all. Be safe as always.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. I would now like to invite Stephen to provide you with his final question.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Prime Minister, my final question. The apologies anniversary, slavery apologies anniversary, as was issued by the Prime Minister, is quickly approaching, Prime Minister. The committee, slavery committee put in place by your person, can you give us an idea as to what's taking place with that committee? Are they really executing what was asked of them to do?
Yes, thank you. As we come up on that year, you know, we had a Katoi session, I believe it was in October, with different committees from the various Caribbean countries here. They said it was a very productive meeting. AXAR was involved in those meetings, in those sessions. They are finalizing, they're still meeting, they're looking at the various areas. They had produced a recommendation paper to the Council of Ministers, but they have to finalize their organization as an entity in and of itself. So we want to formalize AXAR as a committee with a legal basis to be able to move forward. They are already working, I believe, with the University of St. Martin to access some of the funding that have been made available to carry out some research and do some work. And I will ensure that an official press release goes out regarding all the actions that they have taken. They've also, I believe, expressed the need to share those in Parliament. But of course, we understand that, Parliament is on a different vibe at the moment. And seeing the change in the government in the Netherlands, it will become very crucial to ensure that we have strong representation highlighting the needs, the wants, and the will of St. Martin as it regards to this. As you know, that the winning party's platform did not have any, they don't see the Caribbean the same. But we are waiting to see what government will be formed. It will be a coalition government, so we don't expect that it will be as extreme as the leading party, because they will have to temper their goals to be able to form a coalition. And so we're praying that a coalition is formed with which we will be able to continue the work that has started. We've had very good collaborations thus far. Of course, not always agreeing in the how. So if it even goes further to the right, it could pose challenges for these islands, as we have fought very hard to reach where we are now. And it will then accelerate further discussions, and I think those referenda that I mentioned before will be very necessary to determine where St. Martin will go from here.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Stephen. Members of the media, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Any further questions can be sent to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable Prime Minister, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, November 29th, 2023. For rebroadcast, tune into www.stmartingov.org, St. Martin Gov Radio via 107.9 FM, Tel TV Plus Channel 15, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, and YouTube channel Government of St. Martin. For a video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach, and wishing you a pleasant day further.